I just gained the power of a creator. But the next day, I was diagnosed with late-stage stomach cancer. To survive, I transformed my family orchard into a sandbox world. I tried to fast-forward evolution and life processes, just hoping to create a civilization that could cure cancer. The little people in the square sandbox kept exploring. One day, they were horrified to discover their world was round above and square below. There were even towering giants the size of a mountain. Whenever their civilization didn't go as I wanted, I'd wipe everything out and start over. I'd give each civilization's hero a chance to ask me one question. Whenever they asked how long I took to create the world, I'd think about the days I spent digging and building the sandbox. It actually took me a full 7 days. So the legend goes that the creator made everything in just 7 days, and soon that story spread across this land. Civilizations rose and fell over and over in my sandbox. But who would guess? So many brilliant civilizations all began from a single steamed bun. At first, in my 100-acre orchard sandbox, I made an artificial pond. I mixed it with salt to make it into a sea. In the Central Ocean, I dropped in tons of bug spores. Then I sped up cell division by 10,000 times. Every day in real life equals 10,000 years in the sandbox. Even so, it wasn't until day 5 that these single-celled organisms started evolving into plankton. The Central Ocean grew cloudy right before my eyes. So I quickly set some genetic limits to control the size of the spores. I couldn't let them evolve into anything too big. On the afternoon of day 6, after 5 days of single-cell Paleozoic ocean, multicellular life finally appeared in the water. In just a few minutes, it was like watching a nature doc on fast forward. Species popped up and died off in seconds. Then the next generation would be born. But by sunset, just as I expected, the sandbox world had its first mass extinction. 12 hours of night meant no sunlight for 5,000 years in this world. Most aquatic plants withered and sank. Under the dark sky, nothing survived. My sandbox was too small, and there was too little biodiversity, so new species couldn't adapt fast enough. But my ocean did have super adaptive recombinant single-celled life. Half an hour into the moonlight, a faint blue glow appeared on the surface covered with dead plants. They were blue plants the size of ants, shaped like leaves. Surprisingly, without sunlight, these plants turned their photosynthesis toward the moon. I was amazed. I named this plant blue silvergrass. After this plant survived the first mass extinction, it began rapidly evolving in seconds. Blue silvergrass crazily adapted to the darkness, spreading over the water like lotus leaves, soaking up moonlight from my backyard. Another hour passed, and it had gone through tens of thousands of generations, starting to form different branches. 2 subspecies even evolved. One group of blue silvergrass kept absorbing moonlight, getting more efficient at it, while the other became carnivorous, using a faint glow to attract and then devour other blue silvergrass drifting nearby. Watching this, I couldn't help but marvel at the toughness of life. This lone aquatic plant developed its unique ecosystem in the ocean beneath the long night. Suddenly, I had an idea. I decided to write all this down. So I quickly grabbed a black notebook, opened to the first page of Genesis, and wrote, endless darkness, sudden changes of heaven and earth, sunset and moonrise. The world falls into 5,000 years of deep darkness. 99% of marine life goes extinct, with only blue silvergrass surviving. In this dark ocean, blue silvergrass became the ruler of a new era. Looking at my now life-filled pond, I silently hoped sea animals would appear next. What would my bug cells evolve into in the ocean? I stayed up all night, waiting for dawn. But when the 7th day finally came, all the blue silvergrass plants that thrived in the night quickly withered. They were used to the gentle moonlight, and now sank like they'd been burned. In an instant, blue silvergrass suffered a mass extinction. By afternoon, another blue tint slowly came back to life among the dead plants. It was a blue silvergrass shaped like a 5-pointed star. It had mutated. It managed to escape this extinction. To adapt to strong sunlight, it began evolving for generations, and within minutes, this blue silvergrass died, giving birth to countless new generations, gradually changing from blue to become a sea of black and blue star-shaped grass. I was deeply moved. I named this kind purple sungrass. Turning to the second page of my black notebook, I wrote, next, the light sage era, sudden changes. Moonset, sun rose. 5,000 years of blazing sunlight. The blue silvergrass rulers of the dark sage era mostly went extinct, while the weaker purple sungrass quickly rose up, becoming the new rulers of this age. Night fell on the 7th day, and purple sungrass thrived in the ocean, able to handle 5,000 years of day and night cycles. Meanwhile, the photosynthesis from all the water plants hugely boosted the ocean's oxygen levels. So now the conditions were right for sea animals to emerge. Soon the single-celled ocean creatures started evolving, and the first to appear were some black beetle-like animals. With that, ocean animals took the stage in the history of evolution. Seeing animals appear at last, I finally smiled with relief. Carrying my tired body after staying up all night, I went back to my room and passed out. When I woke up, it was already the Sandbox's 8th day. I found that some sea animals weren't content to fight over the crowded ocean, so they evolved into amphibians, living along the barren coast. So I quickly recorded this on the next Light Sage page. The Third Era. The birth of animals in the newborn age. First ocean animals. An age of species flourishing, where invertebrates ruled with their armored minds, becoming the dominant species of the era. But they didn't reign for long. Vertebrates appeared, using their agility to take over, ruling the newborn age. They crawled out of the sea, ready to dominate a long dynasty. After writing this, I quietly closed my black notebook. Though the buns were about to evolve into land creatures, I had no idea how long it'd take to evolve intelligent life. No one can say how much longer it would take. So a new idea popped into my head. I decided to drop a bit of my own blood in. But that seemed too risky. Carefully, I decided to test with other DNA first. I headed out to the zoo. Using a college research project as an excuse, I bought a blood sample from a gorilla. When I returned to the orchard, the entire 100-acre miniature sandbox had already become a small ecosystem. Mountains and rivers were full of greenery. The plains had all kinds of strange trees. Animals were swimming in the rivers. I walked into this huge 100-acre test field. I finally chose a beetle-shaped creature and placed them in a fresh test plot just 1 square meter in size. I injected the star blood to accelerate time. All that couldn't survive the blood rejection died. Tens of millions of beetles died in just 2 days. Among the survivors, I picked the small batch with the highest blood fusion and named them Chongs. The Chongs were very similar to humans in appearance. But unlike humans, they had round black armor growing on their backs. Black jade Chongs. It took a full 2 days, which for the 100-acre sandbox meant 20,000 years had passed. Some powerful species appeared. Trees soared into the clouds. A ton of giant species emerged. This meant the sandbox had entered a kind of terrifying Jurassic era. The biggest beasts with black discs on their heads had reached my preset size limit, about the size of a cat. I introduced the Chong tribe I developed to the south side of the sandbox, in a lush, green canyon. I wanted to see, in this era, how the Chongs would survive. So I set time flow to 100 years per day. Early the next morning, I rushed straight to the sandbox to check on that group of bugs. To my surprise, they already had primitive clans and lived together, and even developed a basic language. But what worried me was that they were just too weak. Their ancient genes from 20,000 years ago were nothing compared to the beasts of today. I couldn't stand by and watch the Chongs I'd worked so hard to cultivate go extinct. So I decided to give them the spark of civilization. I ordered a miniature pine bonsai online over vacation, and commissioned an ultrafine alloy greatsword, just barely thicker than a needle, both crafted with extreme precision. By the time they arrived, a day and a half had passed, which meant 150 years for the Chongs. Now, the Chong tribe in the sandbox was nearly gone, almost extinct. Yet I actually felt a bit pleased. Making it 150 years in this age without dying out meant they had potential after all. So I set time back to normal, then entered the sandbox. The Chong's tribe was now in ruins. Corpses everywhere. Run. We can't hide here. The Dark Claw is coming. Several male Chongs growled, telling the women and children to escape, while they swung huge beast clubs, charging at a few dark beasts ahead. Beasts called Dark Claws. We have to survive. The women and young Chongs ran off, faces full of despair. They seemed used to escaping. But the males who charged ahead had already become food for the Dark Claw. Blood spattered everywhere. I watched this scene from afar, feeling a bit of sympathy. So many died in this primitive tribe. As I strode forward, those running away felt the ground shake. In the ancient wild forest, countless beasts panicked. Masses of animals fled. Mountains and rivers were flattened. Some strong creatures didn't even have time to react. Before getting stomped to death from above, I quickly caught up with the fleeing Chong soldiers and stepped on the Dark Claws feasting on their bodies, crushing them easily. Whoa, what is that? How could something be that huge? It's 10,000 times bigger than even the largest 100-meter beasts. It killed the terrifying Dark Claw with one stomp. The Chongs looked back. and saw the towering being reaching the clouds. Like some ancient giant piercing the sky. They screamed. And collapsed instantly. I could understand their language. But didn't care about their shock. After all, to them, I was the creator. Run. Run. There's no escape. We're just as tiny as a hair on him. Countless fleeing chongs collapsed. But as everyone screamed, a young chong stubbornly looked up at the sky. And shouted at me. Are you another giant beast here to eat us? You killed my father and mother. Killed Dashio. Why are we so weak? I was surprised by the young one's courage. So I had an idea. Then I'll choose you. I gently reached out. And lifted the little chong onto my palm. Right away, his mind went blank. The giant's palm felt endless. Like a continent, and he was no bigger than a single line on my palm. He looked up. The giant's eyes shone like the blazing sun. In the sandbox, I hid my face. From all the creatures. So they could only see my vague glowing face. I held the tiny chong in one hand. My eyes calm. Gilgamesh. Do you want to change all this? The little chong suddenly trembled. And screamed on my palm. We can really talk. In this world. There's actually a talking giant. Why did you call me Gilgamesh? Holding him in my hand. I brought him up to my eyes. And calmly replied. Names are a sign of wisdom. Standing on my palm, Gilgamesh. Suddenly got excited. We can communicate. We both have intelligence. Why won't you save us? You're so strong. So great. The tribe didn't know what I really was. They just thought I was a smart beast. And I didn't plan to explain. Holding Gilgamesh in my palm. I strode over mountains and rivers. Crushing trees and animals as I walked. I had the little chong look down from my palm. My voice booming. Echoing through the sky. Look. Every creature in this world is equal. You're just like any plant or animal. Why should I only save you? Is it just because you have intelligence? Gilgamesh was speechless. Then he started yelling in despair. Then why bother talking to us? No one will rescue you. Don't expect anyone to save you. Only you can save yourselves. But I can give you tools of civilization. Let you save yourselves. Gilgamesh stood on my palm. Staring down in awe. It was his first time seeing from the clouds. Overlooking this vast land and mountains. Rivers and valleys curled beneath his eyes. Countless beasts fled and roared under the giant's feet. Creating a scene truly epic and overwhelming. What a spectacular and fantastical view from above. Such terrifying yet admirable power to possess. He began to speak, trembling. What is civilization? I'd never considered. How to explain civilization to this fledgling race. So I thought for a moment. And gave my answer. Civilization is the spark. It's knowledge and order. And the strength from wisdom to defend yourself. Hearing strength, the great power. Gilgamesh seemed lost in thought. I set him on my shoulder and walked back to the canyon. Then took a tiny silver pine I bought online from my backpack. And planted it in the soil. It was only a 60-centimeter silver pine. But for this miniature land. It was an endless divine tree reaching the clouds. Looking up. Mist swirled around. The massive twisting canopy stretched endlessly. If you want the power of civilization. Show me your courage. Climb the divine tree. This is your trial from me. A trial of wisdom and bravery. As I spoke, I placed a custom giant metal sword. And a single match soaked in kerosene at the tree's base. Thinking again, I placed a capsule with termite genes at the top. This came from earlier experiments. A byproduct of creating the Chongyuan race. My booming voice echoed through the sky again. These are the 3 treasures of civilization. First, the Sword of Judgment. It's the weapon to protect civilization. Unlike the savage breeds covering the land. Species that use tools for power. Are called intelligent beings. Second, the Torch. With its blazing flames. It is the bridge of civilization. To master fire. Is to begin civilization. Third, the Blood of Power. Only the bravest warriors can withstand it. Survive the baptism of the blood of power. And you'll gain unmatched strength. Fail, you'll die. If you want to change the fate of your people. Climb the divine tree before the torch burns out. Get the 3 treasures of civilization. With that. I gently placed the young Chongyuan on the ground. Then, as he watched in awe. I strode over the mountains and left. The moment I stepped out of the orchard. I instantly sped up the sandbox's flow by 100 times. So that little match, which could only burn for seconds. For the creatures inside the sandbox. Would burn for days. Next, I used my telescope. And saw the scene beneath the divine tree clearly. The young Gilgamesh. Started climbing the tree with determination. To me. His movements were just a blur. He fell countless times within a few seconds. But kept climbing back up. 10 or so seconds later. He finally reached the treetop. But actually. For Gilgamesh in the sandbox. He couldn't remember how long he'd been climbing, or how many times he'd failed. At the top of the divine tree, standing on the lush green crown, Gilgamesh held the sword high, seemed to be saying something, then quickly turned into a blur again, and climbed down the tree. I was curious, so I used my creator power to replay the scene at the treetop, seeing Gilgamesh conquer the tree, lifting the sword of judgment high, and swinging it over his head. He looked down at the beings and scenery below. The black armor on his back gleamed, his determined face full of confidence. With equal wisdom. One day we'll be like that wise giant beast. Every clansman brimming with divine power, able to scare countless beasts into fleeing. I'll lead my people to the top, and spread the spark of civilization across the land. At the top of the ancient divine tree, this moment was made eternal. Millions of years later, there used to be on this land a once flourishing, yet fleeting, ancient Yenli dynasty. People discovered through archaeology. The epic of Yenli history, written by the great kings of old. This oldest record, the Yenli Genesis chronicles tell. The wise behemoth stood 10,000 feet tall. Its face was divine, trampling over the mountains and land, bestowing the divine tree's trial of wisdom, bringing the three treasures of civilization, encountering the young hero King Gilgamesh. When I woke up the next morning, 100 years had passed in the orchard's sandbox world. For the Chongyuan with an average life of 40 or 50 years. 2 generations were gone. It had been 2 generations. I was looking forward. After 2 generations. Was that young Chongyuan from back then? Had Gilgamesh died of old age? The answer was no. Had Gilgamesh died of old age? The answer was no. He surprised me greatly. In the 10 years after I left, Gilgamesh led his people on the run. Amazed by such wondrous things in the world. Fire could cook food, keep monsters away at night, and bring warmth during cold nights. No wonder the wise giant beast said, "Fire marks the start of civilization." That sword of judgment was the most invincible weapon in this primal land. With the sharp blade, Gilgamesh slayed countless wild beasts, kept his people barely alive, and finally gave them the power to fight back. In the second decade, the second Gilgamesh outgrew his youth. Turning 30-something, he became strong and tall, the greatest hunter of his kind, called Hero King by his tribe. He even used fire to burn the land, making it fertile, and started primitive farming. He was arrogant, proud and overbearing. The world revolved around him. The wise giant beast had entrusted him with the 3 treasures. He knew clearly. Civilization is the passing on of knowledge and history. So he boldly created ways to record his races. History with cuneiform script. Invented new language. He believed he was the first wise being to found a civilized world. So he recorded his history of creating civilization, wrote it all down and praised himself, and shamelessly named it Genesis. His rule was tyrannical, despotic and absolute. Yet he was deeply charismatic. He had 131 wives in the tribe, who bore his children. Most of his offspring were strong and able, inheriting his size and wisdom. But Chongyuan only averaged 3 or 4, or lived about 30 or 40 years. At this point, Gilgamesh was already in his 30s. Back when he wielded the blade of judgment, a bold and fearless hero king. Now, he had reached his twilight years. Inside a treehouse built from wood, the fire roared in the fireplace. Gilgamesh sat calmly on a huge chair woven from dark claw fur, murmuring to himself while staring at the flames. "That's the fire of civilization granted to me by the great beast of wisdom. It's so beautiful and blazing, like leaping red petals." Gilgamesh's massive, towering figure had grown old. He turned his head, gazing at the many enormous beast skulls hanging on the wall. These were the bones of great beasts from these lands. He'd lived a truly glorious life, radiant and extraordinary, fulfilling the dreams of his youth. He was also content that the next chief had been chosen. His son Artoria was just as capable as him, able to lead the whole tribe to glory. Gilgamesh could feel it clearly. His life was nearing its end. Death is inevitable for all living things. He had almost accepted his fate. Then he quietly took out the thread of power from years ago, and sighed, finally, nothing to worry about. Back then, the wise beast said, only the bravest warrior could take this 3rd treasure. Am I really the bravest warrior in the world? Let's find out. A hero in his last years. His cloudy eyes widened a bit, and in a daze, memories of his glory days flashed by. Suddenly, his eyes opened sharply. In that trance, he recalled a lifetime of glory. Suddenly, he started to cry. He quietly pierced himself, and poured the blood of power into the wound on his arm. Unbearable pain rushed in. Gilgamesh fell to the ground, struggling. This aging hero had survived countless battles, but never struggled to breathe in such pain. But finally, he survived death. The king slowly stood up. His long hair was no longer its original color, and turned completely silver-white. His face looked godlike, perfect and young. What is this power? Inside the treehouse, a towering, silver-haired young man muttered to himself. With 2 tubes of blood, what incredible strength. Now Gilgamesh could clearly feel power endlessly surging within him. At the same time, back in the tribe, Gilgamesh's son Artoria stood atop a high place, lifting the sword of twilight overhead, announcing his succession as chief. Artoria was wise and strong, gifted in both ability and virtue. Compared to his ruthless and arrogant father, he was more like a qualified, kind chief. Gilgamesh understood this too. Kor was willing to give up his position in old age. But now things were different. Artoria was so kind, deeply loved. He showed his father enough respect. He never intended to seize his father's position. But Gilgamesh would allow no loose ends. I'm back. I'm still the chief. Blood was spilled that day. Cries rang through the Yanli tribe. The hero king Gilgamesh's son reclaimed the throne. He lived a second life. In the first decade of Gilgamesh's second life, he led people to build homes from stone. The Chongyuan clan formally entered the age of fighting beasts with tools. Without using the blood of power, Gilgamesh gained termite-like memory, could easily pull up a century-old giant tree, and had the strength to move mountains. He led the people to resist the giant beasts. After 13 years of war, he challenged the most terrifying being on this land, known as possessing the ultimate strength, Beast King Fenba, 100 meters long. Fenba was the dominant king of the beasts on this continent. The very creature that evolved to the upper limit of my sandbox's size. Gilgamesh fought Fenba for 3 days and nights. The earth tore open. Canyons collapsed. Countless giant beasts fled the forest. That day, Gilgamesh was soaked in blood. Sword of twilight gripped in one hand, dragging Fenba's massive corpse home with the other. With single-handed strength, he could pull a beast's body as big as a mountain. People of all tribes were proud, utterly amazed, and wrote songs for him, singing praises of his power. He was the mightiest hero king ever. I will build a nation. When he returned, he looked at his people and suddenly declared. The tribe exploded with excitement. People cried for joy. They knew well, with this great hero king leading, their days of suffering were over. No more fear of savage beasts. A new era of civilization had begun. History is written by the victors. Gilgamesh didn't mention his heir's cruelty, just praised his parrot deeds in the Genesis scrolls, and in the chronicles of the Yanli dynasty. In the Flame Emperor era, records say Gilgamesh took the blood of power, and killed the legendary beast Fenba, moved giant boulders, and established the first city-state, Lishur City. As time passed, unable to conquer the entire land, Gilgamesh focused on building civilization. He worked tirelessly. He was charismatic as ever, but increasingly ruthless. He invented currency, perfected the language, built cities, but also cruelly ranked people by status. He wasted the nation's resources, sent many warriors to explore the edges of the world. He was the people's great hero king, but also a total tyrant. Year 87 of the Yanli dynasty. Gilgamesh was 127 years old. Reached Lishur King's city. A terrifying population in the millions. Countless slaves were traded here. Even a gladiator arena was built. The nobles enjoyed the sick spectacle. The old tribespeople were long dead. Centuries had passed. Their children and grandchildren no longer remembered their ancestors' hardship. They gradually fell into decay and comfort. But the old Yanli king remained strong. In the dark, vast Lishur King's hall, a tall, handsome man calmly stood before a throne of fine white bones. Right next to him, the legendary Sword of Twilight. Great King of Yanli. Lord Gilgamesh of the city-state. We have explored all the land. Palace official Han Ming bowed slightly, speaking with zeal. Every inch of this land. Han Ming bowed again, excitedly recounting everything from recent years. What our world is like. Han Ming stared straight ahead. Sharp gaze. Like he could see through the palace ceiling to the sky. Once, those explorers set off from all directions. Spent decades traveling. Many died and never returned. At last, today, we learned the world's true shape. Han Ming dramatically gestured. Our world is a dome above and square below. The sky is a high, endless arc. The land is a perfect square. In the center is a vast ocean, surrounded by mountains and rivers. On this immense land, even riding the fastest beast in a straight line, to travel from one world's end to the other, would still take over 20 years. Gilgamesh sat silently on the throne. Then said, "All right. You may leave." "Yes, my lord." Hanming got up and left. Then stopped suddenly, turning back to look in admiration at their king. This great hero king led them out from the caves, founded the tribe, from farming to the age of tools, and then to the city-state era. He slew the most fearsome beast king, 100-meter Fenba, and guided one civilization after another. Over 30 years ago, Hanming was just a young wanderer, summoned by the king into the palace, ordered to draw maps of the city-state. And after 30 years, he returned to Lishur King's city having finished his task. No longer a young man, but a trembling old man with clouded eyes. But instead, he's a trembling old man. His eyes are cloudy. He won't live much longer. But your majesty is still just like before. There's no sign of aging at all. What a truly great ruler. Hanming's body is shaking. His eyes burn with devotion. For over 100 years now, the king has stopped showing his powers. No one knows how strong he is now. Maybe one day in the future, this immortal, ever-living king will lead the Yenling people into a new age of civilization. Our world. Round sky, square earth. When the palace was finally empty, Gilgamesh remembered these words. He sighed deeply. He gently touched the huge sword beside him, like a companion who's been with him forever. I've mastered the power of the torch, and I fully understand the blood of power. But the sword of separation? Even after searching the world, I never found it. How was it even made? Gilgamesh sounded truly shocked. He touches the sword blade. What is this material? What kind of giant beast's bone is this? Or maybe some lost craft of another age? Sadly, this world is still not the real world. I never hid any ores in the sandbox. So, civilization here is stuck in the Stone Age forever. In their understanding of the world, they'll never know the word metal. To this world, this shiny, indestructible stuff is mysterious and one of a kind. They've searched to the world's end, but never found that wise great beast from years ago. So powerful and unique. They've searched all the way to the edge of the world. Yet they never found that wise ancient beast from back then. Where did this wise beast even live? The beast's civilization is beyond our imagination. The sword of separation gifted to me is a real treasure. But this sword that shaped all civilization also seems to be a warning. This power called civilization, I only understand part of it. The rest is unknown, like the secret of how this sword was made. It makes me feel afraid. The sword of separation hangs over me like a blade. It's hanging sharp above my head, could fall at any second, and end my life. This power of civilization really makes you dream. Gilgamesh sits on his throne, like a lion sleeping for ages. His eyes look far into the distance. Suddenly, he thinks back to that time over 100 years ago. There was that massive, towering figure. A supergiant, as tall as mountains. Covered in a shining aura. Born sacred. With big hands holding him when he was young. Looking over all the land. And teaching him the 3 treasures of civilization. He'll never forget it. It's crystal clear in his mind. Like it just happened yesterday. But sadly, my life is ending again. The study of power is useless to me now. I want to live a third life. Great wise beast. I want to see you again. But sadly, right now, I'm chatting and eating with the neighbor's little sister. I didn't hear Gilgamesh's prayer. Even if I did, I wouldn't answer him. All lives that die of old age are meant to end. No one lives forever. Gilgamesh already lived a life even I envy. Glory for a lifetime. Everyone looked up to him. What else could he regret? But I still underestimated Gilgamesh's desire to keep living. After going through the fear and rebirth of dying once, he fears death completely. This heroic king wants another life. Far from the capital. Year 102, Gilgamesh, 142 years old. This legendary king already lived 3 times a normal life. But his face started aging. He was stunned. His anger shook the nation. He ordered everyone to start searching for the wise beast. And called on all kinds of talented people to make potions and research dark magic. For a while, many wild beasts were hunted in the forests. All their parts were used. For experiments, the dark claw, once everywhere, was almost wiped out. History calls this time the era of tyrant states. 13 years later, a court sorcerer made a potion for long life. It worked, and Gilgamesh lived longer. But soon he became resistant. After using it a few times, it stopped working. Gilgamesh started slipping toward death again. Death comes for all creatures. Even the greatest heroes can't escape the end. Year 145, more than 30 years later, Gilgamesh felt his life ending quickly. The old but strong king sat still on his throne. He closed his eyes and mumbled to himself. My life is almost over. I don't want to die yet. After 3 days of silence, he finally opened his old eyes and chose to retire from the world. He began picking the next king. That news shook the empire. The great king is dying. The immortal hero Gilgamesh is reaching his end. But nobody reacted at first. Last time Gilgamesh aged, he handed power to his trusted son, Artoria, making him the next leader. But after living his second life, Gilgamesh killed him himself. Everyone feared becoming the next Artoria. But Gilgamesh really was the smartest king. He directly ordered. The next heir gets the blood of power. He'll be as strong as me, and won't need to fear me. Plus, he'll get the right to lead troops and build a second city, receiving the tool of power, and is allowed to finish it. Once the news broke, the whole country was shocked. Merchants, slaves, commoners, nobles, craftsmen, all rushed to the palace. But in the end, even after the trials, most died from rejecting the blood of power. Only the forest warrior Lefty and the nomad commander Randall actually survived after getting the blood. They lived, and each built a city-state. Now, with 2 heirs bearing the blood of power, they're set to share rule, taking over for Gilgamesh, who's dying. They will lead the next Yanli civilization. Civilization started with Gilgamesh, but it can't end with him. Year 175 of the Yanli dynasty. 3 kings ruled together. They ran the empire as one. The Yanli city-states saw an all-time high. Suddenly, Gilgamesh really felt death coming. He started a final struggle. He called all the craftsmen, and built a temple even more impressive than the martyr King Hall, the wise beast temple. In this huge stone temple stood a towering statue of a giant god, shining and endless. The giant held the young hero king with one hand. Gilgamesh. His eyes shimmered softly, looking down at the whole land. He radiated an incredible divine presence. That day, Gilgamesh led his ministers. He led millions of his people. The entire nation worshipped the wise beast, hoping that the great master of wisdom could feel their sincerity. If only he could see the wise beast once before dying. Gilgamesh's old face was suddenly full of tears. After nearly 100 years. Now, Gilgamesh is close to death. He gathered all his ministers to worship at the temple, begging for a second meeting. The wise beast. The great wise beast. Our game. I really want to see you again. This hero king's sincere wish is just to see you once more. The one who gave him those 3 legendary treasures. The mysterious wise beast. The grand scale was overwhelming. I was walking with the girl next door when I suddenly got a message from the creator. I felt a little emotional, but still decided to meet this old friend again. And it's time to stop the Chongyuan clan. I didn't expect. After speeding up time in the sandbox, in just a few days, they destroyed countless ecosystems. So many species went extinct. All of this was just for Gilgamesh's dream of immortality. I returned the sandbox time to normal and stepped into that world boldly. For the beings in the sandbox, the ground began to tremble a little. Mountains and rivers, even the seas, seemed to shake. Trees got trampled. Huge footprints appeared in the valleys, and countless animals ran for their lives in the forest. Gradually, even the whole martyr's city started to shake. Is the city about to collapse? At that moment, Gilgamesh was leading his people to worship the stone statue. Suddenly, he sensed something. The heroic old king's weary face showed childlike joy for the first time. After 200 years, the great wise lord I saw as a child, the wise beast who gave me 3 gifts for civilization, had finally returned. I looked at the giant city holding millions of people, a bit amazed. Honestly, to me, it was only as big as a basketball court. But for those tiny Chongyuans, it was grand and magnificent. I looked down at the ornate shrines and temples. Below the great stone statue, the silver-haired, aged hero king held his sword, staring up at me, with glistening tears streaming down. I looked down at this old man, tears on his face, and felt emotional. Back then, that young Chongyuan I once held in my hand, standing atop the great tree, shouting to the sky with his sword, had now grown old, reaching the end of life. Yet his youthful fighting spirit felt like just yesterday. Gilgamesh. How have you been all these years? I asked softly. My voice moved through the endless clouds and fell onto the bustling martyr's city below. Gilgamesh gripped his holy sword for support. His whole body trembled. I'm doing okay. His throat was parched and raspy as he gazed at the sky. That towering giant before him, even after seeing it before, was still breathtaking. This colossal being soared straight into the clouds. It seemed to hold up the heavens itself. A dazzling light hit its face, with holy radiance shining through the clouds. Its majesty couldn't be seen clearly. The giant looked down at the whole city. So mighty, solemn, and divine. There aren't words to describe how awe-inspiring this was. Wow, it really exists. Over 10 million people in the city, whether wealthy merchants in fancy leather, or slaves in rags, all dropped what they were doing, came out of their homes, and stood on the streets, looking up at the giant touching the sky. This is the legendary wise beast who gave us civilization. It's really a giant over 10,000 feet tall. What a magnificent life form. As grand as the sun, moon, and stars. Everyone was stunned in awe. Their minds went blank. A mix of wonder, fear, amazement. Countless emotions rose together, all turning into pure admiration. Gilgamesh noticed the same awe on his ministers' faces, and couldn't help but laugh. He remembered the first time he had seen the wise beast. He felt exactly the same awe. After a moment's silence, Gilgamesh looked up with longing in his eyes. Wise beast. Your longing gaze. Wise beast. The legacy you gave me over 100 years ago. I've fulfilled it. High above in the sky, I felt as if I was traveling through time. The giant's voice echoed from the clouds, reaching everyone below. Your achievements will be recorded in the Flame Emperor's history. In the Book of Genesis. You will be the first great hero king. In the history of Yenling civilization. Future generations will sing songs for you, Gilgamesh. Glory after death for centuries, living on in epic stories. That's not what I want. Gilgamesh grew excited. Then what do you want? I want to live forever, like you. Gilgamesh looked up at the giant, towering above, full of longing. I'm willing to give up everything. Pay any price. Please give me the secret to immortality. Hearing that, I stayed silent. At this moment, this king had nearly everything in the world. Honor, power, wealth, even the world itself. And he still wasn't satisfied. I want immortality too. I'm terminally ill myself. On the verge of death. I envy Gilgamesh's epic life. That heroic life like a legend. Gilgamesh, you are too greedy. The treasure of immortality. I don't have it. I looked at this aging king calmly. Birth, old age, sickness and death are the laws of nature. I can't change them. At the end of life, everyone just wants to keep living. Status and titles don't matter anymore. Countless civilizations' boundaries fade away. Whether king or commoner. Countless measures of civilization have been surpassed. No matter if it's emperors or ants. In the end, none can escape death and decay. I took a long look at Gilgamesh. Then I glanced down at the kingdom below, full of emotion. No, that's impossible. Gilgamesh forced out a hoarse response. Staring at the divine face shrouded in clouds above. No, you're lying to me. You can do it. You're fully capable. His gaze burned into me. Majestic like a towering mountain. His build as strong as a boulder. Over 2 centuries have passed. Even after drinking the blood of strength, he's grown old. But time has never left a mark on this great giant. For him, time feels like yesterday. In his eyes, the wise beast is immortal. What incredible power. What envy-inducing longevity. Gilgamesh's lips trembled. He suddenly threw his head back and roared. So you came because I called you? To witness my death? A humble, pitiful life. Dying in fear and trembling. Gilgamesh. I'm here to see you off. I can't extend your lifespan. Also, to give a second warning for civilization's transition. I sighed. And continued. Your civilization is too brutal. You wipe out other life. Destroy the forests. Slaughter giant beasts. You've trampled the continent. True civilization isn't savage. Nor is it barbaric. I'm asking you to stop the killing. Stop the slaughter. Though Gilgamesh is old, he's still strong. He suddenly stood up, body trembling. His eyes burned like fire. Growing even fiercer. This white-haired elder suddenly became more vigorous. He suddenly stepped forward. Killing can never stop. My steps won't stop either. Do you realize? All these years. The sword of divergence you gave me has hung over my head, giving me great power, but also unmatched terror? But today, I will pull down that blade myself. Where is Micron? The historian in charge of recording Genesis approached on cue. Record this moment of our civilization. I speak, write it down in red ink. The court historian cried out in sorrow. He quietly picked up a goose feather pen and spread out a roll of gray beast hide parchment. Please, Your Majesty, speak. Humanity's struggle with nature is a story of courage and triumph. My purpose in having Genesis written is to leave history for future generations. Let history record my courage right now, so later generations know their ancestors fought against nature. Gilgamesh took a deep, rasping breath. His old body leaned on the sword, letting out a low laugh. Then he spoke out loudly. Year 175 of the Yanli dynasty. After slaying the legendary greatest beast, Fenba, the hero King Gilgamesh, who ruled for over a century, steps in again, mustering the full power of the nation, to lure forth the lofty wise beast, intending to slay it with his sword. I silently watched it all, feeling complicated and surprised, witnessing everything. My heart was full of mixed feelings and shock. Last time, parricide. This time, he's going for a god. But I calmed down quickly. From a second perspective, this act looks crazy, but it's actually expected. After his first near death, this hero king came back to life and killed his beloved son by his own hand. Threatened by death a second time, he turned toward me, who had given him 3 treasures of civilization, and drew his sword. Maybe from the start, I should have known, when I picked that one brave youngster from a group of trembling followers, the one who dared to shout at a towering giant, what that would mean. He never knew fear in his life. It's only natural he'd draw his sword on me now. It's just who he is. I said calmly, Gilgamesh, I warn you one last time. Stop your reckless actions. This is barbarism, not civilization. Your next move will cost you dearly. Nothing weighs heavier than death. Gilgamesh slowly opened his red eyes, like he was young again, with that rare, wild passion from his youth. Just like before, when I faced death and killed Fenba. Today, I'll slay the wise beast, steal his civilization, and take his power. Witness true immortality. I'll lead my people to defy the gods. Gilgamesh roared furiously. This is the first clash of civilizations. One intelligent civilization against a unique wise beast. Even if you once guided our civilization, now you stand in our way. He raised his long sword high. Fierce winds swept his silver hair all over, full of wild arrogance. Just then, a distant bell echoed through the city. The whole city erupted. Hundreds of thousands of troops surged out, forming tight and orderly ranks. I sighed at the scene. Turns out, more than 10 years ago, Gilgamesh was already prepared to take down the wise beast. Today just draws me out. If I didn't accept his terms, he would lead his men to kill me. Clever and brave. From this angle, he really is a great tyrant. At the same time, in the distant plains megacity, the nomad General Randall stood calmly before the palace. Even from far away, he could see the giant towering into the clouds. Such a grand and perfect life form. Randall was in awe, his pupils constricting. It's time to act. If not for seeking allies, under Gilgamesh's harsh rule, how could he have shared the precious blood of strength with anyone else? All this was in preparation for today. Andar suddenly drew his longsword, showing the prairie warrior's spirit. He shouted loudly, "March! History will remember this great moment. Yanli dynasty. Year 175, the Yanli will slay the wise beast, drink the immortal blood, and return triumphant." Meanwhile, atop the sacred tree near the capital, once a sky-piercing ancient tree, used to trial 3 treasures of civilization. That ancient tree now holds a thriving forest city. At the summit of the sacred tree, the forest warrior Likadu leaned on a wooden cane, quietly watching the terrifying giant towering in the distance. Several students stood quietly behind him. "Teacher, it's time to go. We promised the king, so we should honor our word." Someone reminded him softly. "No, we are leaving Likadu Forest City. Choosing to do nothing." Even Lychee sighs in disbelief. Even looking at the royal city from afar, that terrifying giant's aura still made his heart feel crushed. Was the teacher afraid? A blunt student finally asked. The 3 mightiest kings of the royal city joined forces. Even the legendary giant of wisdom might not be unbeatable. I'm not afraid. I'm not scared of death. But I do fear losing my civilization and knowledge, more precious than life. That's why I can't massacre like a beast the civilization we received. The wisdom beast who saved our people. If there's no gratitude or morality, we'll be no different from beasts. The students stayed silent. Their teacher was one of the 3 mightiest leaders. He had received the blood of power. A great forest hero who survived. But now he chose to disobey orders. "I refuse to go to war. Guilty enough to be beheaded. If His Majesty wins, take my head to the royal hall. I'm guilty of disobeying orders. Use His Majesty's tyranny as the charge to expose his rule. I was doomed no matter what. This was all my own idea. Please, spare the royal city. If the wisdom beast wins, then present my head to him. Beg the great giant's forgiveness. So he knows. We still have real heirs to civilization. Not just brute savages. Beg him not to wipe out our kind. Leave a glimmer of hope." The teacher, Lichi-do, stood atop the sacred tree, opened his arms calmly, stayed quiet for a moment, then steeled himself. Blood bloomed. He cut off Lichi-do's head with his own hands. One of Yanling's greatest heroes, Forest King Lichi-do, died without resistance. Xianzhe looked at Lichi-do's severed head. That familiar, peaceful face. Silently wrapped it in animal hide. Suddenly, a pang hit his heart. He somehow sensed something deeply important in life was slowly breaking inside. Countless arrows rained from the ground. This was Yanli's best army. But to me, it's just a mass of ants. Their arrows are sharp, but too weak. Arrows and spears hit my thick jeans. Didn't even scratch my skin. Even the elite army couldn't pierce his clothes. I should have guessed. My troops, beast conquerors of the forest, are useless against the giant of wisdom. Completely useless. Just as I said that, Hill couldn't do anything. And just then, Gilgamesh suddenly leapt powerfully. In a blink, he flashed to my knee. I was a little surprised. That's insanely quick. For an ant to leap like a flea. Such scary jumping. Really impressive. I swatted with my hand. But unexpectedly, this old sword king dodged with skill. Gilgamesh kept darting at high speed, dodging left and right, climbing my jeans upward, looking dead serious. So this is the wisdom giant. Even just a simple move nearly blew me away with the wind. Your Majesty, Randall is here to help. Savage King Randall just arrived too. With a light jump. He also leaped 7 or 8 meters high. Climbed onto my leg. I reached for Randall. Faced with my mountain-sized hand. This grassland king was just as nimble. Battle-hardened from fighting giants all his life. A masterful fighter. Truly a grassland king. You two are impressive. But that's the end of this test. I said, suddenly thrusting my palm. And slapped at Randall with great speed. Randall's face changed dramatically. No time to react. He was sent flying instantly. Next second, I struck at Gilgamesh too. Crushing down on him with force. Damn it, how? Gilgamesh's face filled with shock. He barely reacted. And blocked with an amazing sword swing. My palm hit his blade. He went flying through the air. And crashed down quickly. In just one move. He was defeated. I could barely scratch him as he fell. One move was all it took. He was down. I only managed to cut his skin a bit. Gilgamesh landed hard, giving a bitter laugh. And spat lots of blood. I looked at this hero in awe. Even in defeat. He never looked afraid. Even knowing we were worlds apart in strength. Gilgamesh, such a complex and mighty man. Has real charisma. Proud and unique. Brash and arrogant. His heroic days are gone. I actually feel sorry and regretful. But his time is up. I really can't change that. Randall was also coughing up blood. His chest heaving hard. Looking at the giant in the sky. And even then, no fear in his eyes. He accepted death from the start. A warrior never fears death. He just gave a sad laugh. So this is the gap. What are we really fighting against? Do you regret it now? I sighed softly. My whole body glowed gold. Enormous in size. Towering through the clouds. Like an ancient giant. Mysterious and majestic. Regret? No. It's just a choice. Gilgamesh spat more blood. And said nothing more. Right then, Yanli admitted defeat. Facing the giant of wisdom. To challenge such a giant. Defeat, they knew what it meant. The apocalypse was coming. I glanced at the fleeing army. Destruction, madness, screams everywhere. The survivors howled in despair. Terrified and laughing insanely. Driven to madness for sure. I never wanted to control so many fates. Control. Laughing wildly, clearly insane now. I never thought I'd control so many people's fates. Or shape the rise and fall of a civilization. I looked down at this aging hero king. And spoke calmly. Are we headed for destruction? Just like we wiped out so many beast races. Will you destroy us? To avenge them? I quietly watched him. His civilization is about to fall. But right now, he's still not afraid. I thought for a moment. Since you wouldn't listen to advice. I will destroy you. You ruined the whole world's ecosystem. And drove too many species extinct. I can't let you keep multiplying endlessly. Hearing this, Gilgamesh smiled in relief. Years ago, you told me what civilization was. Now can you answer me a few final questions? Our king is actually asking the wise beast questions. Everyone held their breath. Looking up at the colossal giant. The air grew still for several seconds. Even the giant beast stayed quiet. Suddenly, a deep, profound voice pierced the clouds. And echoed down to the shattered martyr city. Ask your question. In that instant, the world went silent. Blood-soaked land fell quiet. Countless fleeing soldiers froze. looking back at the giant in the sky. How will you destroy us? With water. I pause for a moment. And calmly add. I will bring a massive flood. To wash over this whole civilization. And erase your footprints. Suddenly the land held its breath. Everyone went dead silent. The whole civilization. Erasing your traces. The ground went quiet instantly. Everyone was scared speechless. The land is too filthy. Full of sinful people. So the wise beast will use a huge flood. To wash away this evil world. But even if the wise beast is that strong, how could it unleash a flood covering the whole world? That's beyond any beast's power. That clearly means. People started to breathe faster. Faces filled with fear. No one could find a word to describe this legendary beast. Second question, this world is flat and round. But how come you've never left a trace here? Where did you come from? What exactly is a wise beast? Why did you give us the flame of civilization? And why did you stop us from killing other races? You say all life is equal. Wild, wise, even plants are equal. So what does this land mean to you? I lower my head, looking at this doomed hero. The king giant looks down at Martyr's City. A booming voice sweeps across the land. This land is the world I created. You are all my children. Wild, wise, plants. All living things are my children. So you are equals to me. Even the air seems frozen in place. People on the ground started to breathe quickly. The breathing grew louder and faster, turning into waves of gasps. Gilgamesh was also shocked, speechless. It can't be. Suddenly he started laughing. His smile grew bigger, till it turned into crazy, rampant laughter. Interesting, this is too interesting. What are we really fighting against? So the legendary wise beast was just the beast we thought it was. It's not really a giant beast. It's the almighty creator of all things. The one who made this world. Something like that should be called a god. On this land. Our tribes never had the concept of a god. But now we do. I was arrogant once. And wrote books recording the history of civilization. Calling it Genesis. Thought I created civilization. But it was really the wise beast who made the world. All beings are his own. Children, what incredible power. And I dared think I could. Gilgamesh's voice suddenly stopped. Then his laughter pierced the sky. He laughed even harder. But I just felt silent inside. The sky-high giant's body stood tall at the city's edge, watching this doomed hero king laugh. I've always been pretty patient. So I tolerated his wildness and rage before death. Last question, to create our world. How many days did it take? Gilgamesh suddenly asked. That question really made me think. Back then, to turn the orchard into a sandbox, I dug up dirt. That question really made me pause. Turning the orchard into a sandbox, I dug up dirt and shaped the land. Mountains, rivers, this square patch of land. It took me a whole week to finish. So I answered honestly. I spent 7 full days creating this land. 7 days, a god made everything in 7 days. Gilgamesh was stunned. He collapsed, laughing. Laughed until he shed tears. His laughter turned hysterical. For a second, he felt something break inside. The sound of a heart shattering. His pride and defiance smashed before death. Nothing is worse than a broken heart. One day, in his wild laughter, his mind faded. He suddenly remembered his boyhood. Standing on the giant's palm. And asking his first question. What is civilization? Civilization is fire. It's knowledge and order too. Civilization is also the greatest power wisdom uses to survive. Gilgamesh laughed harder and harder. His laughter carried over hills and breezes. Across rivers and forests. On this land, everyone seemed to look up in a daze. As if they all heard the wooden dirge of the king of salt pears. Countless people wailed in tears, singing the nameless song of salt pears. A folk ballad of sorrow. The great king is dead. On this day, at Martyrs. On the city's edge, a heroic epic king, Gilgamesh, walked to the end of his life. And became dust in history. I sighed. Watching this hero king leave. I never wanted to fight for anything. Everything you wanted. Every question you asked. I answered them all honestly. But I really can't give you immortality. Even I am about to die. So why bother? The king is dead, our king. The strongest hero king ever, Gilgamesh. He raised his sword at the creator. He died, and we lost. Countless people wailed. And ran for their lives. I silently looked down at it all. Where can these people run? To the edge of the world? Unbelievable. It's truly unbelievable. The scribe wails in sorrow. Standing atop the towering walls of the martyr's royal city. He watches the great hero king fall in defeat and death. He breaks out in cold sweat upon learning the terrifying truth. I have to, before I die. Record everything. I want to leave the truth of this world for future generations. The scribe trembles all over. Sweat soaks his arms. He had just written down Gilgamesh's epic challenge against the beast of wisdom. Now, still trembling, he flips to the next page. He quickly records a new chapter. Genesis, the chronicle of the Yanli kingdom. The beast of wisdom was actually the creator. Gilgamesh grew proud and arrogant in his old age. He dared to raise his sword against the creator, trying to gain immortality with divine blood. In the end, he angered the gods. The gods saw humanity's grave sins, decided to destroy Yanli civilization, and sent a world-ending flood to wipe out all life. The sky trembled. The earth wailed. In the tense atmosphere of the royal city, people panicked, afraid, trembling, and overwhelmed. Repent, for the wrath of the gods will break our arms and crush our backs. The great flood will destroy our world. It will wipe out our civilization. Just at that moment, a young man with blonde hair carrying a bundle. A blonde youth carrying a bundle approached me. Right at my feet, he opened the bundle, revealed a head inside and cried out. The great beast of wisdom, Forest King Likadu, begs for forgiveness. I was taken aback. Only 2 of the 3 kings arrived. The Forest King was still missing. Schwanza knelt and pleading, laid flat on the ground. We Yanli people aren't all just savages, Master Likadu proved it with his death long ago. Rather rebel than raise a sword against the one who gave us civilization. We're not all evil. So, when the gods punish us, please, leave Yanli people a final hope. Hearing of the Forest King's righteous act, I sighed. I honestly never expected Gilgamesh would go that mad. Nor did I intend to wipe them out. They were just too arrogant and self-important. Such madness and disrespect. Cruelty and savagery. They must pay for their actions. You, lead people to build an ark out of the great divine tree. Take seeds from every creature in this world. At least a pair of each. With whatever space is left. Let those who share Likadu's friendship board the ark. I will send the flood at once. To end the world, then I turned and left. All around, people trembled with emotion. We lost the battle. But our kingdom didn't perish. There is still hope left. Thank the Creator for mercy. All thanks to the Forest King Likadu, who showed our goodwill to the Creator. We are not savages. We still have a chance at redemption. We're not savages, there's still hope for us. Praise be to Likadu City. Praise the great Forest King. The scribe cries in sorrow again, yet also weeps for joy, watching the giant leave. He waves his pen and records in the Genesis, Yanli Kingdom chapter. The mercy of Likadu, Forest King, moved the gods who were about to destroy the world. The Yanli, who dared defy the gods, were given a chance for survival. God commanded Schwanza to build an ark to escape the world-ending flood. I returned to my courtyard, tidied up a bit, found what was hidden in the corner of the garden. A water gun I bought with my neighbor Suqing while shopping a while ago. Didn't expect it to come in handy now. In the 10 or so minutes I spent preparing the water gun, 120 days had passed in the Sandbox world. Countless people moved like fast-forwarded images. They cut down the old bonsai divine tree and built a massive ark, taking every creature's seeds on board. Even the young beasts of all kinds, all species of the world, were gathered onto this colossal ark. Luckily, the area isn't big, so everyone's packed close. Time to start cleaning. I walked into the sandbox. Standing a dozen meters away, raised the water gun, swept and sprayed all the way through. A jet of white, high-pressure water shot at the city-state area in the orchard. A large patch of trees fell. A giant city collapsed instantly. Countless beasts tried to escape the forest, but were finally swallowed by the massive white flood. Heaven and earth instantly turned snowy white. Mighty Schwanza led everyone on the ark, amazed, watching the sky. It was an overwhelming sight. Like the whole sky over the great abyss. It was truly shocking. It was as if every spring was ripped open. Windows in the sky swung wide. Countless torrents of white water rushed down from the clouds, washing over all the land. Only the ark stayed afloat on the water. The entire world was swallowed up by the vast white flood. The colossal flood, like a grand white waterfall, poured from the heights of the sky. Rushing water drowned mountains and earth. What terrifying force! Destruction came in an instant. On deck, merchants, nobles, commoners, and slaves all sighed in awe. These were the kindest, most peaceful people left. God sent the flood to cleanse the land of evil. All the savage, violent, and guilty would be buried by the flood. On this day the great flood destroyed the world. It was known as the Day of Disaster. The last light of Yanli civilization. Schwanza led the last Yanli people on the ark, boarded the final ark, and escaped the flood. On the empty ship. In the corner, the scribe holding his quill collapsed awkwardly onto the deck. Still lost in awe of the great being. In our world, the sky is round and the earth is square. Our world was made by the gods. In just 7 days. What incredible power. Weeping and trembling. Old tears blurring his eyes. He began to write his thoughts. Silently finishing the legend of the 7 days of creation. Picking up his pen, he wrote the final Genesis. The record of God's 7 days of creation. On the first day, God said, "Let there be light." And there was light. God separated the light from the darkness. He called the light day. And called the darkness night. On the second day, God separated the light from the darkness. He called the light day. He called the darkness night. On the second day, God said, "Let there be air to divide the waters." And so the sky appeared. On the third day, God said, "Let all the water under the sky be gathered together. Let dry land appear." The water and land separated. God called the dry land the continent. He called the gathered waters the sea. Fourth day, fifth day, sixth day, seventh day. Heaven and earth were finally complete. God rested. He blessed the previous 6 days on this day. From then on, people believed the historian's vision was real. As if the Creator God truly appeared to mortals, telling them in detail about the 7 days of creation. But why would God humble himself? To explain in detail the creation of the world to mere mortals? Still, people preferred to believe this story. In the story, God rested on the 7th day. People called this day the day of rest, the holy day. That's how this tradition started. People also chose to rest on this day. I kept washing for a while. After making sure I missed nothing, I finally turned off the pressure washer. I quietly flipped the switch and put it away in the storage room. So now, it was a fresh start again. Endless slaughter from Chongyuan. Overbreeding nearly destroyed the world. Now just 1 pair of each species remains. Soon they'll bounce back to the old ecosystem. Hopefully, this time, they'll become more cautious. Genesis AI spoke beside me. Even if you don't destroy them, they'll still destroy themselves. They'll eat every species, and then die out on their own. Might as well just start over now. I let out a long sigh. I'm not as fragile as you think. No need to comfort me. I just feel a bit down, that's all. Let out a sigh. I'm not as fragile as you think. No need to comfort me. Just a little upset. Genesis AI went on, as a queen of the hive. You've bred countless children and species. You're a great creator. You should be used to the rise and fall of many kinds. A vein throbbed on my head. I corrected him, I'm a man. I'm the hive queen. No need to say more. They're all your little brood, raised one by one. Anyway, birth control in Chongyuan is crucial. I cut him off right away. Sat in the chair by the yard gate, quietly munching the freshly peeled fruit. I'll buy 2 more pounds of fruit in town tomorrow. With stomach cancer, gotta take care of my stomach. It's been a while since I picked up my black notebook and started writing in it. This is the era of beasts. I was gonna call this era the era of croco-beasts. Kind of like the dinosaur era, Cretaceous. But since the Yenling people call it Genesis, might as well use that name for this era. In Earth's history, this is like the mass extinction at the end of the Cretaceous. An asteroid wiped out the dinosaurs. But here, a great flood destroyed the beasts and the hive. So in my timeline, I'll call it the End Genesis mass extinction. I gathered my thoughts. Flipped to the 4th page after the dark era, the light era, the new era. Wrote down the 4th era, Genesis. Intelligent species appeared. The hive built tribes and city-states. Drove out giant beasts. Became the rulers of the era. But they were brutal and cruel. Heaven couldn't tolerate it. A great flood came and wiped them out. So began the 3rd mass extinction. 99% of life vanished. After finishing the part about the 3rd extinction, I went to sleep. Next morning, while washing up, I felt a crazy, boiling power surging through my body. I was shocked. Hastily checked my own body. This power. I looked at myself in the mirror. I seemed to have grown a few more centimeters taller. Now 6 feet tall. My face looked smoother and sharper. Had a handsome, elegant vibe. Body was solid and fit. Like a Greek sculpture, almost perfect. Muscular when shirtless. Slim when dressed. All this was from the 3rd extinction. That's where my new strength came from. It's way stronger than the previous 2 times. I'm at the level of a top athlete now. I clenched my fists. Feeling all that power. But looking this good with these proportions. I actually feel like some Nordic god. But I kind of feel weird about my head size now. Changing so much so suddenly. Suchin's probably gonna freak out. She'll ask me where I bought this. No more Photoshop tricks for me. People will want to study me. Can I edit my genes? I suddenly asked Genesis AI. Want to reset these amazing outer looks. This perfect appearance is just too eye-catching. I could walk down the street and people would scream. Honestly, I was fine with how I looked before. Hard enough for Suchin and the neighbors to accept. Even as it was. Changing again like this, they'll totally get suspicious. House owner has the natural ability to unlock genetic code. Recombination hero. You've got the ability to edit your own genes. Do you want to merge with the recombination cells? I'm already a recombination hero. Actually, I was weak before. So I couldn't handle the modification. Now I'm strong enough. So I can fuse with the cells. I'm not struggling with what to be anymore. If you wait too long, you might die. Now that I'm strong enough, I can finally handle the recombination cells. It's not about choosing to be human or not. If you wait too long, you won't survive. Just waiting quietly for cancer to kill me. Being normal isn't exciting at all. It's way more fun being a bug. So I quietly said, merge with the hive. Cell fusion starting. Suddenly, a bone-deep pain shot through my soul. Cold sweat broke out all over me. I collapsed on the bed. Cried out in pain. Then blacked out. When I woke up, 3 hours had passed. My whole body was covered in black-gray gunk. I hurried to take a shower, changed clothes, and checked myself. My body's changed. Now I have endless potential. I'm really a bug now. My hive cells can divide super fast. I can adjust my genes however I want. I closed my eyes. In the dark space, I saw a twisted double helix DNA. Tons of useless junk in my human genes. Already cleared out. Only the good stuff stayed. Most of my gene chain is blank now. But when I tried to remove cancer cells, Genesis AI gave a cold answer. It's a core genetic part. Can't be removed. I took a deep breath. I can't cut out my human genes. Just gotta find a way to heal. Plus, Genesis AI told me something scary. Cancer cells are basically the body's rebel cells. The stronger I get, the stronger the cancer cells become. In other words, when I grow stronger, so do the cancer cells. They're multiplying like crazy inside me. This mass extinction, if I absorbed any more power, I might just die on the spot. That really scared me. For now, I can't handle any more feedback from the fourth mass extinction. I take a deep breath and stay alert. So basically, for a while, even if they rampage across this land, I can't intervene like before. Stay aware and keep my guard up. So basically, for a short time, even if they go wild in this place, I can't just do whatever I want. Lots of extinctions happened. They reset everything. I remember last night. Gilgamesh went absolutely mad and desperate at the end. That made me feel real fear and awe about death. My stomach cancer has moved from mid-stage to terminal. Death is terrifying for every living thing. Can I really survive this? I stand up and walk to the courtyard gate. With late-stage cancer, I'm running out of time. I have to get going in the next era. Evolving races with my sandbox. And work on extraordinary powers. Within the supernatural. Find a way to fight cancer cells. I look at the sand table. Everything's withering away. Almost no signs of life. One night out here equals 40 or 50 years inside the sandbox. But the world still hasn't bounced back. Every species has just one pair left. Slowly starting to repopulate. And now they actually follow the warnings of God. All life is equal. Only take what they need to eat. Not killing for no reason. They're even helping some species multiply. Growing their numbers. At the same time, new species are popping up after the extinction. All sorts of strange things. Brand new life rising after the end. It's stabilizing again. And starting to regrow. But it's too slow. My illness won't hold out for long. I sigh. Should I start a second sandbox? Another Genesis? I'm thinking of opening up a new world sandbox simulation. And let the new civilizations develop a supernatural system. But that's just not realistic right now. The big sandbox I have just barely got a glimpse of supernatural powers. Biting off more than I can chew. So I switch strategies. Wisdom is a free resource. It leads to all kinds of things evolution can't explain. Since that's the case, maybe I should use others' brains too. Thinking by myself is just too limited. No. Since that's the case, maybe I should use other people's intelligence. Brainstorming alone doesn't cut it. Why not tap into more people? Pull in a group to join me. Yeah, this time I'm going all in. Evolving species alone is way too slow. Might as well bring others along. And have them help me simulate everything. Bowsy evolution. I remember the sandbox games I used to play. Bowsy as the player. Starting from a Bowsy and evolving outwards. And eventually turning into all sorts of life. What if I set up a mini sandbox? Like an online game? Letting others log in with devices. Treat the sandbox like a game. And help me create new species. With Zerg-like tech. That should be possible. Just no monster grinding or leveling up. Right, it's not a game after all. It's a real world. I'm thinking to make it like Minecraft. Open world sandbox. Let players start cell division at 10,000x speed. So they evolve their own species from spore form. They control cell growth, evolution, and aging themselves. Old ones die, new ones take over. You can finish one round in 2 or 3 days. It's just a wild idea. Won't be too much work. The major stuff's still in the main sandbox. I'll pick the most unique and promising races from each game session. Then add them to the big sandbox. Making the sandbox world more complete. After all, with only one intelligent race, it's way too one-sided. Now I realize that having just one dominant race is a recipe for disaster. How long will it take to set up the new sandbox? About 3 days. The tech's already here. VR game headsets can be the portal. So at the house entrance, I set up a 30 square meter mini sandbox, grabbed my hoe, and, using the old setup, quickly made the sandbox environment. Physically, I'm okay now. I still have the illness, but I've got my energy back. A day later, the sandbox was set up. Feeling healthy again. Even though I've still got the fatal disease, I can actually work now. A day later, a seasoned Steam player named Shan was looking for some indie games when he found this VR game, Bowsy Evolution. The beta description mentions sandbox farming. Game starts with a Bowsy. Species evolve with endless possibilities. Perfect for casual players. At first he scoffed. Probably just another overhyped Chinese game. But its huge 3 GB size got him curious. So he downloaded and registered. Put on his VR headset and entered the game. No way. You actually have a body in game. Feels like I'm really swimming in the ocean. Shan's mind went totally blank. He knew he'd stumbled on something unbelievable. But right when he got in, he couldn't see a thing. Because he's still a spore, a single-celled organism. He needs to evolve eyes and a vision system first. He died over and over. Generations passed, until he finally grew eyes, then a mouth, and started hunting. But he got wiped out quickly. His eyes were too weak, always ambushed by enemies. So, he even went to the library to research evolution. And after a few hours, finally evolved a barely surviving creature. Endless sticky tentacles everywhere, one huge eye, and a mouth full of sharp little teeth. Ha! I finally did it. Shan felt super accomplished. He steered his tentacled monster ashore, blown away by the real mountains and rivers. Meanwhile, I'm sitting by my door, eating an apple in the sun, watching a freaky creature crawl onto land in the distance. And I'm just stunned. What evolution is that? Bizarre creatures. Scary big eyes. 2/3 of its body is just eyes. This is how extreme evolution makes weird creatures. Those huge eyes are freaky. Eyes take up most of its body. Maybe evolution had a grudge against just growing eyes. According to evolution theory, wasting most resources on useless eyeballs should have been wiped out by nature. But I find it really fascinating. Doesn't this look like a mythical blood-eyed monster? Just then, I heard banging at the door. Suchin brought food. I got up and walked to the door, and stepped right on the cross-eyed monster. It squished into a pile of mush. Shan's screen showed failure again. He was totally stunned. His creature was evolving so well. Finally, it looked like a real species. It just crawled to land, ready to rule. Why did it get stomped out of nowhere? As I opened the door, Suchin brought a tasty meal again. He glanced into the yard. Why are you farming by yourself? You look pretty happy with it, too. Farming makes me happy. He stared at me, clueless. Like he was shocked. Why do I feel like your vibe is changing? You seem really different now. Are you using cheat codes? Even though I changed back to my old look. But after 3 mass extinctions, that superhuman vibe is hard to hide. I just touched his forehead. Are you feeling sick? He got tricked by me again. So he switched the topic. Aren't you bored hanging out in the yard? Wanna go hang out with me sometimes? I looked at her, surprised. Are you serious? What about your ex-girlfriend? Why isn't she here with you? We broke up when I got sick. Quit my job and then we split. So at your peak, you got a terminal illness. Lost your job. And your girlfriend left you too. So now you just moved to the country, alone. Sounds kind of sad. I could be your girlfriend before you die. That was actually my childhood dream. I used to volunteer. I know how to care for terminally ill patients. I can cook and keep you company. For terminal patients. I can cook for you. Keep you company shopping and chatting. Make your final days happier. Let my final moments. I was speechless. Then I gave him a faint smile. Are you serious? Trying to do a girlfriend's duty. Su Qing shivered. She quickly stepped back, holding her clothes. This is just a simple romance. You're already dying. And you still want to ruin my innocence. People call it fake brothers. Let's just be fake lovers. Alright, I'll be straightforward. In a few days, my high school classmates are having a summer get-together. Come with me. You're good looking. I'll look great bringing you. My friends will be so jealous. Help me pick out clothes. You're usually free anyway. And you have money to spare. Since you still have time now, might as well splurge with me. The look in her eyes confirmed it. I've fallen into a trap. This girl came to me. Just wants money for clothes. And a fake boyfriend for show. Basically got myself a phony girlfriend. Or more like a little housekeeper. She loses interest fast. But if she actually cooks every day, I won't need to eat out anymore. With stomach cancer, diet is important. Food outside is sketchy. Back to business. I studied that weird creature. It's dead now. But its species is still in the small sandbox. They're almost extinct now. When 2/3 of your body is an eyeball, you're doomed to get wiped out. Is there potential for anything special? That species is pretty simple-minded. Evil by nature, but with those huge eyes. Their basic psychic power is strong. If I don't intervene, they'll definitely die off. But maybe, like Chongyuan, they're just too weak early on. Give them time and they might grow powerful. I plan to move this species into the big sandbox. Open up a new spot in the 100-acre sandbox. Turn a section into a swamp. Layer it with chicken and cow manure for rich, rotten mud. In time, microbes will ferment it. It'll generate methane. And become thick. Sticky, muddy swamp. Then just toss the weird-eyed creatures in there. No competition here. Even if they're weak, they'll multiply fast. Whether they become supernatural monsters is up to them. Meanwhile, in the small sandbox, the game's blown up. First player. Chen Wenshan posted a detailed review on the forum. The core highlight is 100% real feel feedback. Whatever you evolve, that's what you actually sense. If you die, you just have to start a new account. There are no guides at all. He even said at the end, my goal is to evolve into a legendary dragon. Then fly into that yard. And poop on the giant's head while he's peeling apples. He wants to crap on my head. Last species that challenged me like that. Do you know what happened to them? I made a mental note of this. In just one day, all 100 slots in the sandbox filled up. Now thousands online are begging for more beta invites. Not my problem, there's so few spots. I'm not making money off this. Feel free to suggest ideas. If I actually take one, I lose. I'm not expanding. It was just a simple side project. Even if you stir up drama, it's not changing. Unless something totally unpredictable happens. It's staying in beta forever. Focus back on the big sandbox. This is real work. The Yanli people from last era. Strictly speaking, only 3 super creatures like Gilgamesh appeared. For the next civilization, I want them to have a real cultivation system. Ideally before they develop a wizard civilization. Gilgamesh once asked the royal dark wizards to research. He had them develop a longevity potion. That was the start of real wizards. I hope a great wizard will show up. Skilled at alchemy and potions. And come up with something to cure cancer. To build a complete supernatural system. Supernatural creatures are essential in the sandbox. All kinds of mysterious, dangerous supernatural life. As resources for the wizards. Research subjects, I looked at the swamp in the big sandbox. A day passed. The evil eyes have bred like crazy. Even showing special variants. I perked up. Over the last century. Without natural predators in the new place. The weird eyes multiplied wildly. They were everywhere. But soon, overpopulation made competition inside fierce. Food got scarce. They started eating each other. Feeding on their own kind. Then, one unique evil eye appeared. It wielded a strange psychic power. Any creature it stared at would become entranced. And willingly come close to be eaten. This first super evil eye quickly took over. Became the boss of the swamp's ecosystem. With no natural enemies. It multiplied like mad. Survival of the fittest. Regular evil eyes got wiped out. Now, all across the swamp they have seduction abilities. The next supernatural generation has finally appeared. Chaotic psychic power. I was shaken. Not until the 4th epoch did the first supernatural creature finally appear. Right then, I looked at the big sandbox. Another huge event was unfolding. A swarm of bugs had entered the swampy mud. Over 200 years passed. Several generations since the Great Flood. The Yanli tribe's descendants now wear animal skins and clothes. No longer need thick body hair to stay warm. Their black body hair has thinned. The outer shell is gone. They grew taller, revealing pale skin. Tall builds and pale skin. From hairy apes toward a hairless humanoid type. Now physically more like sturdy Westerners. They once had a glorious city-state civilization. But now they're just simple farming tribes. Their golden days were built on King Gilgamesh's legacy. That great hero king tamed giant beasts single-handedly. Made Yanli people top of the food chain. Once he was gone, they had nothing left. Couldn't reach Bronze or Iron Age. Still using simple spears and clubs. How can they fight the monsters? The only ever sacred sword, Gwali, was taken by Gilgamesh. And forever lost in the endless sea after the Great Flood. Right now, Muge, chief's daughter of the Babylon tribe, sighs. Those eyes held wonder. A legendary epic for one man. The great hero King Gilgamesh. No wonder they wrote epics about him. To remember his glory. Our times have fallen. And are fading away. If only the divine sword of civilization weren't lost. Even without the power of blood force, life might not be so difficult for us. Civilization is the strength that protects our wisdom. I, Muge, want to know which way our civilization should go. How should we survive? Muge looks calm. He's the bravest and smartest in the tribe. His strength isn't as great as the men's. But his killing skills make him beat most of the tribe's warriors. He glances at a few skinny, muscular guys nearby. This area? How's the exploration going? The place is all swamp. A warrior answers. It's a vast, muddy swamp. Probably formed by pooled water after a big flood. Lots of species thrive here. There are many tasty fruits. This is the fertile marsh I made with chicken manure. And cow dung layered underneath. Natural plants grow even more lush. Muge takes a deep breath. He looks at the huge black swamp in front of him. He was about to set it as the tribe's next gathering spot. When suddenly something feels off. Wait, 2 people are missing. Everyone looks at each other. Nothing like this ever happened before. Something's not right. Huge beasts can't enter the swamp. They would just sink. No signs of big beasts around. Only small swamp creatures could sneak up on us. Muge makes a quick decision, leading over 20 people to retreat. But right then, in the swamp mud, a disgusting, class-level gray-black tentacle monster appears. Its whole body is surrounded by gray tentacles like seaweed, with a huge bloodshot scarlet eyeball, making up 2/3 of its body. So beautiful. How can there be such gorgeous girls in this world? A few skinny, muscular men suddenly lock eyes with the twisted bloodshot eye, like they're seeing the most stunning beauty. They're so excited, no one can stop them. They feverishly walk over. What are you doing? Stay back. Muge instantly senses something. Those weird giant eyeballs can actually charm their prey, making them walk right up. The 2 missing people probably just walked into the trap, headed straight for death. He reacts fast, leaving behind the bewitched ones, and leads the crowd to quickly escape. But just then, he suddenly stops, his eyes burning with heat. What a strange creature. They're even weaker than us. Their tentacles are helpless and floppy. Their giant eyes are dumb. But they have terrifying, unbelievable power. They're able to destroy creatures stronger than themselves. Aren't we weak too? Why do only they have this unique power? In Muge's eyes, it's like an invisible torch is burning. A scary thought awakens in him. I want to take its power. Revive the tribe. Kill it, then we escape. Everyone is shocked. He spins and raises up high. A stylish white skybeam shines down, lighting up his stunning and cold face. Like a warrior goddess out of Norse mythology. Kill it for me. I want to bring its body back to the tribe. But more of these creatures are getting closer. Someone roars. Looking deep into the black swamp, more big-eyed tentacle monsters are wriggling their sticky tentacles, slowly crawling forward. Even though they move ridiculously slow, their strange powers are insanely scary. Once all these big eyeballs surround you, even if it means dying, I want to kill at least one. Muge grabs the 10 spears, becomes the tribe's fiercest warrior, charges straight ahead. Just one spear. With a sharp, raspy screech like a crying baby, the fragile big eyeball bursts open fast. A rush of stench. But right then, he suddenly stops, his eyes burning with heat. What a strange creature. They're even weaker than us. Their tentacles are helpless and floppy. Their giant eyes are dumb. But they have terrifying, unbelievable power. They're able to destroy creatures stronger than themselves. Aren't we weak too? Why do only they have this unique power? Mo's eyes seem to blaze with an invisible torch. A scary thought awakens in him. I want to take its power. Revive the tribe. Kill it, then we escape. Everyone is shocked. He spins and raises up high. A stylish white skybeam shines down, lighting up his stunning and cold face. Like a warrior goddess out of Norse mythology. Kill it for me. I want to bring its body back to the tribe. But more of these creatures are getting closer. Someone roars. Looking deep into the black swamp. More big-eyed tentacle monsters. Are wriggling their sticky tentacles. Slowly crawling forward. Even though they move ridiculously slow. Their strange powers are insanely scary. Once all these big eyeballs surround you. Even if it means dying. Still gotta kill at least one. Muge grabs the 10 spears. Becomes the tribe's fiercest warrior. Charges straight ahead. Just one spear. With a sharp, raspy screech like a crying baby. The fragile big eyeball bursts open fast. The stench fills the air. Turns into disgusting, sticky slime. Splattering all over Muge's face. Take it away. He lifts the sticky tentacle corpse with one hand. Quickly turning around. And sees he's surrounded by 7 or 8 twisted eyes. His face turns pale. Fight your way out with me. It's a brutal fight. Almost the whole 30-man hunting group died. They could have escaped. But were surrounded after wasting time. In the end, only 3 survivors escaped. This devil swamp cursed by death. Everyone died. Muge, the strongest woman, couldn't help but cry out loud. For years, most of the brave tribe men died hunting big beasts. From a tribe of nearly 1,000, only 100 strong men left. Now another third are gone. They're almost extinct now, but our race is going to die out anyway. Might as well fight for it. Muge takes a deep breath, looking at the twisted eyes corpse, hoping this creature they got at such a cost. Its evil blood will be useful. All these years, countless people tried to merge all kinds of beast blood, hoping to be like Gilgamesh, and have the power of the hero king. But except for the God-given blood force, everyone died. It's like only special creatures' blood may work. Maybe the blood of these strange creatures can become another kind of blood force. When Mige returned to the tribe with just a handful of people left, his father was already falling apart. Are you insane? Do you even know what you're doing? A middle-aged man in black animal skins was gasping for air at the top. Are you crazy? Do you know what you're doing? A middle-aged man in black animal skins was gasping for air at the top. I'm not crazy. We have no way out. Instead of waiting to die, we should risk everything and fight. If another Gilgamesh appears, someone could lead our civilization to glory. That's our only way to survive. That's impossible. The chief slowly shook his head. Only the blood of divine power in legends can grant great strength. Besides, these disgusting monsters. Even if we did get that kind of power, the gods would still punish us. Power itself is neither good nor evil. Even those with the bright and mighty power could turn into tyrants. They might wave the sword of civilization, and even challenge the Almighty God. And if you have dark power, but keep a kind heart, maybe you can still protect everyone. These monsters are weaker than us, but somehow have incredible strength. If we could have that strength too. The chief fell silent. He gasped for air. This will be a bigger decision than death itself. Suddenly, he looked down at his stubborn daughter. With a choking voice, he said, "But we don't have enough people left for testing." For 200 years, generation after generation of brave chiefs had young people take the giant beast's blood, and one by one they died risking everything. That's why there are so few of us left. Mige took a deep breath. We don't have enough strong men. But we do have enough elders, women, and children. All these years, men have always protected women. This time, it's the women's turn to stand up. And if the women die, we'll have a lot less burden. This time, let the women of the tribe die. The tent fell silent instantly. A few hours later, torches burned on the high ground of the tribe. Muge gathered everyone. If we don't want to be wiped out, if we hope to bring back the glory of the Yanli people, if we want to see a great, new hero king, death can't break our will. The mighty hero King Gilgamesh once said, "The history of mankind fighting against nature is a history of courage and triumph." And today, history will remember our courage this day. Tomorrow morning, we hope you'll come for the tribe. The song of mankind is a song of courage. Below, women held their kids in silence. Everyone knew there was almost no hope of survival. That night, countless women said goodbye to their husbands and kids. After crying their hearts out, they bravely chose to be tested. After countless days and nights, their husbands died. Their fathers died. And their sons will die, too. What's left for them? All that's left is themselves. No one can protect them anymore. The only ones who can keep them safe are themselves. This day was bound to be filled with blood and cruelty. Countless women stepped forward bravely, trying to fuse the slant-eye blood. Over 400 women tried. Bodies were everywhere. The ground was covered with twisted, pained corpses. But in the end, the survivors were just 3 women. Muge and two others named Circe and Silverwyn, the three locked in history. Three women, Muge and two others named Circe and Silverwyn, the three locked in history. On the ancient stone wall, on the Babylonian mural, in the pool of pain and blood of countless women, only three strong women, bathed in blood, stood atop the bodies. The three surrounded, and together, lifted a giant, blazing torch high. Later, this sacred mural became known as the Three Witches. They once passed down the flame of civilization. In the days that followed, these three great and determined women led the tribe forward again. They gained a strange spiritual power, strong and sharp, mysterious and dark, like an evil eye. Slowly, they got the power to resist giant beasts. They used their minds from behind to interfere with the beasts, while the corrupted warriors fought up front. But the strong psychic power also made them lose control at times. Even when getting close to men, they could accidentally overwhelm them, killing them from the mental shock. So, they were all virgins, unable to be with men, too proud for anyone to approach. Muge felt great honor and duty, leading the tribe to war, wielding a wooden staff, fighting the beasts with Silverwyn. She was gentle and kind, liked to lead the women to herd animals, plant medicine herbs, and heal the people. But Circe was different. She was married, and accidentally killed her husband while close to him. But she was full of desire, craving more. Secretly, like the evil eye, she would use her psychic charm, seducing the men in the tribe, and often ending up killing them. Men began dying mysteriously in the tribe. People secretly cursed Circe, and she held a grudge. She used her psychic power to curse the rebels, using her psychic power to curse the men who resisted her, making their heads ache horribly, and giving them dark circles around their eyes. The witch Circe slowly became the nickname for evil and terror in the tribe. The other two couldn't stop her, nor could they join together to kill her, since her power was needed to protect the tribe. Because of Circe's tyranny, the status of women rose to the top. The three became known as witches in the tribe, symbols of power, darkness, mystery, fear, and omnipotence. From this day, the tribe entered a witch era ruled by women. The spear of the sacred witch records, Babylon tribe hit by beasts. Men scarce. Women appeared after drinking the Slanti's blood. The great three witches. War witch Muge ruled over chaos, war, and glory. Cursed witch Circe ruled over chaos and curses. Spring witch Silverwyn controlled mysteries, medicine, and herding. The witch laughed. Silently waited 3 days, which was over 300 years in their world. Finally, signs of revival came amidst the lingering flood. Signs of rebirth appeared. Someone finally integrated the second gene. They chose the slant eye. Gilgamesh merged with the second gene, the termite gene, making him incredibly strong. The women called witches, fused with the slant eye gene, gained psychic power. If not for that slant eye species, showing up as the first supernatural being in the sandbox, there would never be a path to supernatural powers. The slant eye monster? What a surprise you gave me. I sat at the yard gate, eating an apple. Turns out, thinking alone is really hard. Brainstorming helps. Learning from others' wisdom. Actually, the termite gene, others' wisdom. Actually, the termite gene is way too powerful. It needs a huge blank DNA segment. Normal people can't have that much extra genetic space. But the slant eye gene is much weaker, needs fewer segments, and is much more likely to work. 400 deaths. To get just 3 survivors. But they're nothing compared to Gilgamesh. Even average beasts need warriors to help them, while Gilgamesh could crush the world alone. Their psychic skills were super basic. They were also learning spells and herbs. But progress was slow. I thought for a moment, walked back to my room, and searched the web. In the West, there's yoga and meditation. In the East, Taoist inner practices. Both train the mind. I'll give them the seed of meditation. Let them create a path for witch cultivation. The beginning of a new road. They're feeling their way in the dark. It's hard, bumping into walls everywhere. But once there's a direction, they'll move way faster. So how do I meet these 3 witches? Take the form of a wise beast, and give them treasures? That won't work. I can't directly control the microscopic creatures in the sandbox, or move around for myself. As I was thinking, I noticed. In the little sandbox, a group of top-level hardcore players had already climbed onto land. They found a giant sitting far away, on a sky-high chair, eating an apple, lost in thought. This sandbox game is so fun. In our settings, it's real. The bugs in the yard are actually evolving. Are they planning to attack the giant? 3 or 4 oddly shaped players whispered, amazed at how much freedom they had. Watching from the shadows. We can't beat him right now. Stay away from him. If we get stomped to death, we won't even have time to cry. A bunch of players are secretly watching from the forest by the coast. If we get stomped to death, we won't even have time to cry. A bunch of players are lying around in the woods by the coast, spying from the shadows, pointing fingers at me. What a bunch of clowns. I'm sitting in the yard, watching a bunch of tiny ants whispering about me in the distance. They really think I'm a big boss now. Knock knock knock, there's someone at the door. Suching brought food over. Whatever, time to eat. I stood up. Damn, is that an earthquake? No, he just stood up. Run. Don't get stomped. A crowd of weird creatures scatter in panic, stampeding across the land. Behind them, a massive giant comes striding in, as big as a cloud, crossing 1,000 miles in one step, easily passing over their heads, heading off into the distance. When he comes back, he's holding a blue lunchbox. Sits back down to eat. I'm having homemade food. Still thinking how to share my meditation ideas with the 3 witches of the Babylon tribe. Right then, players hiding in the woods sneak out again, forming a circle. This boss even has a cut scene. He's eating. Let's play it safe for now. I look at these ants, plotting how to beat me. I'm just speechless. But then I get an idea. Right, the evolution sandbox game. Let me just go through the player route. Evolve from a bun to a tiny creature. Then I can get into the big sandbox. I'm so hyped. Good thing I set up the mini sandbox. But since I'm going in myself, I need to clear the place first. Next second, a global announcement pops up for all players. Emergency maintenance incoming. Going offline in 3 seconds. As soon as the notice drops, the whole sandbox goes crazy. Those devs giving just 3 seconds might as well not say anything. After 3 seconds, everything goes black. A ton of people take off their goggles. All black screens. Everyone yanks off their VR headsets. Almost smashed their gear. Little did they know. Because they were joking around in front of me, they reminded me of their existence. Don't wanna die? Don't do stupid stuff. Everyone's trashing the devs on the forums. But that won't stop their love for the game. That Autumn Mountain Racer guy, Chenwen Shan, is still analyzing how to beat me on the forums. He's eating. We can evolve a strong neurotoxin. Then blow ourselves up right into his lunchbox. Make him eat us. At the very least, give him diarrhea. I'll evolve a poisonous species that looks like poop. Poison in the poop. I'm stunned. Last time this dude wanted to poop on my head. Now he wants to poison my food with poop. I'm seriously adding his name to my blacklist. Dude, you better watch yourself in the future. After I forced everyone offline from the mini sandbox, I brought a white rubber hose to the sandbox. Used a pickaxe to dig between 2 sandboxes. Buried over 10 meters of pipe underground. Made a tunnel between 2 realms. My own VIP channel. No one comes in without my say-so. Nobody can get in. Then I went back to my room. Put on my VR headset. Made a new player account. Everyone who cursed me is on my list. Logged into the game. Everything went dark. After a long time, my evolved creature finally made it to shore. This body. I look at myself. Just as odd-looking as the other players. A black, long-haired, 3-eyed crow. 2 normal eyes. And 1 vertical eye in the middle. Covered in black feathers. Can't fly yet. Can only glide a few feet. Honestly, this crow is as ugly as the big-eyed monster. And the uglier, the stronger, right? So maybe it's got the same potential. Just as ugly as that big-eyed monster. And the uglier, the stronger, right? So maybe it's got the same potential. The creator's brain hit me with a reality check. Probably no extraordinary potential. Just a plain failed mutation. A bit bummed, but makes sense. Every life evolves differently. The big-eyed thing was a miracle of lucky chances. Super hard to recreate. Doesn't matter. As long as I can move. I enter the secret tunnel between the 2 sandboxes. Get through a long, dark tunnel. Finally see some light ahead. Next thing I notice, I'm in the middle of a thick forest. Big, lush trees. Fresh, green earth. Giant scary beasts roaring and chasing in the distance. It looks like a magnificent ancient jungle. Finally made it into my own sandbox. I lifted my 2 crow claws. Walked with a cocky swagger. Heading straight for the Babylon tribe. Babylon tribe houses are laid out perfectly. People are thriving. The 3 witches may be way weaker than Gilgamesh. But they can still hold off huge beasts. Nice. Humans are somewhere in the middle of the food chain. Can't beat the scariest monsters. But at least they're not hunted for food all the time. Once life became stable, they started to reproduce like crazy. Because they need a big population. More people started to show up. Deep in the Green Mountain Valley outside the witches' village. In a fairy tale-like pool. 3 beautiful women are bathing. After more than 10 years. Now the three witches are over 30. They should have died at 40 in Zhongyuan. All their old friends are gone. But time hasn't touched them at all. Still young and vibrant. Strong and fit. Like teenage girls. When Gilgamesh fused his second gene, he lived over 200 years. But these three are just in their 30s. Their long life is just starting. Muge soaks in the clear spring. Lazily says, last night. Another one left. Our childhood friends are now old and gray. So many years have passed. And finally, only the bond between us three remains. Everything around us changes. Only we're untouched by time. So why are you two such goddesses? Guardians of Babylon, but all alone. A bit jealous of ordinary girls with families? Circe, show some respect. When they saw Circe lose control back then, the three witches made 3 iron rules. 1. You must be a virgin before accepting the evil eye's blood. Never fall in love with anyone. Witches can't have any contact with men. No abusing your power to hurt others. Circe is the classic bad example. Her psychic power is too strong. So strong she can't control her emotions. And ends up killing weak men. For over 10 years. Every month, a few men mysteriously die in the tribe. For new witches have shown up lately. So they're not short on fighting power. Muge and Shuangyin decided to stop Circe. But after the big fight, they were shocked. Circe secretly got way too powerful. Takes both of them to hold her back. Looks like compared to good witches restraining themselves. Evil witch Circe just lets go. And her psychic power is only growing. Another 5 years passed. 16 years in Babylon. Circe is now unfathomable. The two joined forces. They could barely hold their ground. So, aren't you even gonna try? Why hold back? Just let yourself go. No, that path leads astray. We have to figure out the right way to cultivate the true witch's soul. Since I can't convince you all, I'll just have to do this by force. Circe's face turned cold. An intense chill radiated from her mind. You could feel it spreading from her. The water around rippled away in waves. You're actually this strong? Mu and Twin Silver's faces changed. Let's do it. 4 new witches appeared by the pond. Each holding a black cane. Mu was ready for this. She planned to join all the witches' strength to defeat Circe. So what if you band together? Circe's wild energy suddenly surged. Water splashed like crazy from the impact. The fish flipped over from the shock, bellies up. This is the power of a witch. Suddenly, a gentle voice broke in. An odd creature no one had ever seen before. A 3-eyed crow with black feathers. No one knew when it had landed quietly on a leafy branch. Staring down at them. The witches were shaken to the core. The whole area was surrounded by a force field. No man could get close, yet right now. Let's team up and kill it first. All the witches, Circe included, attacked at the same time. All their powers focused in one spot. Even the fiercest beast would be instantly killed by that. But when their energy hit the 3-eyed crow, nothing happened. How is that possible? All the witches stared at the crow, dry-mouthed. The same thought echoed in their minds. What kind of power is this? This is the power of meditation. A witch stared at the crow, dry-mouthed. The same thought echoed in her mind. What kind of power is this? This is the power of meditation. I stood on the branch and said so. Of course, it's not really meditation. They rely on mental power to survive. With help from the Creator's mind. Naturally, they can't hurt me. Actually, I'm just a freaky, weak little bird. Who are you? For the first time, the witches saw a talking, intelligent being. That wasn't human. They recalled ancient legends. Intelligent beings aside from humans are great and wise beasts. Basically, the lords of creation. You're a god? If that's what you think, then sure, I'm a god. I'm one of the intelligent species the Creator once made. Unlike you all, I'm strong, but I can't reproduce. I'm one of a kind. I've been named the God of Wisdom, ruler of all beings. Xian Mo. You can also call me by another name, Emocholi. I've come to spark the fire of progress for the backward Babylon tribe. To bring you the truths of the world. What's the truth of the world? Truth is the sum of all the world's laws and source of all power. Everything you see is part of the truth. I want to teach mortals the threefold truth of meditation, alchemy, and witchcraft. Meditation, alchemy, and witchcraft. Everyone looked completely shaken. Back when Gilgamesh was given 3 wonders of civilization, now they'll receive 3 truths. They actually met a legendary being. It felt like a dream. First, meditation is the way to train your mind, giving you the foundation to become a god. It's the path to become a great being like us. Second, alchemy is the mystical art of creating unknown life. It's the key to open the door to truth. Everything in the world gives rise to and restrains each other and can be exchanged. That is the principle of alchemy. The secrets of alchemy. Everything in the world gives rise to and restrains each other and can be exchanged. That is the principle of alchemy. That's the secret of alchemy. It's all in the Trinity formula. One type of intelligence pleases another. One outsmarts another. One dominates another. They understood a little, but not fully. Totally fascinated. Nervous looks on their faces. Afraid to miss a single word. Third, witchcraft is a magical power. That lets your mind draw earth from fire, pull earth from fire, and draw flames from the sea. According to that rule, from the one and only thing, many amazing transformations can happen. Suddenly, the three-eyed crow on the tree fell off. After saying that, I left the sand table world from my crow form. I exited the game interface. Took off the VR headset. Finally done. I memorized it so many times. Didn't want to mess up a single word. Acting really isn't my thing. If it wasn't for curing my illness, I'd never bother memorizing lines. I have to guide civilization's growth. And hide that I'm actually weak. It's seriously stressful. Honestly, if Gilgamesh himself showed up in front of me, at full size, he could crush me with a slap. Even the power the three witches have was hard-earned after tons of suffering. They're transcendent beings I'll never catch up to. But I still have to bluff them. Just thinking about it gives me a headache. I'm just a regular person, you know. After logging out, I took a shower. Restarted my Sandbox game. Barely a few minutes later, all the players had logged back in. Cursing, but grinding away like crazy. Trying to evolve new species. Using a whole world to simulate civilization. All to find a way to cure their disease. I bet no one else has ever tried anything this wild. But man, it's a tough path. The seed has been planted. Of those three branches of knowledge, I'm most excited for alchemy. Of those three branches of knowledge, I'm most excited about alchemy. Like making potions or elixirs. Finding a way to cure cancer. But alchemy only exists in myths. Honestly, it's probably impossible. Meditation and witchcraft, though, should work. Yoga, meditation, Eastern Qigong, they all have similar ideas. Cultivating the body and spirit actually works. As for witchcraft, with stronger mental power, naturally, new ways will be discovered. Preparations are done. Now it's up to them to see what they achieve. It's just a shame. There's still too few superpowered species. Like evil eyes, and more things like that, could really inspire us more. I sighed, and looked at the players. You better step it up. These guys never focus on developing powerful new species. Just try every kind of weird shortcut. Always sending me hordes of animals. I really need to squeeze more out of you. That's when Su Qing's voice came from the door again. Linchinga, you promised you'd come to the class reunion with me. Let's go. I was confused for a second before I realized. A little break in the city sounds nice. Changed into my new clothes from before, and strode out. Holy crap, the giant is coming out again. Run. The attack on Titan Giant is here. I have 6 legs. I just need to run faster than you guys. A bunch of ants on the ground are making a fuss. They're sprinting like crazy. I had no intention of stepping on them either. I'm thinking how to fully use this free wisdom. The workforce has left. Su Qing is already waiting at the entrance on her scooter. We head into the city. To a large private room on the second floor of a mid-range restaurant. Push the door open. A group of young guys and girls are having dinner around the table. They're chatting, and as soon as I walk in, the whole room goes wild. Who is this? Wrong room, right? Su Qing steps out from behind me. Looks very pleased with the dramatic entrance. This is my boyfriend. His name's Lin Chen, and he's super handsome. You're really showing off now. A bunch of girls gather around. They're all studying me, talking at once. I sit quietly where I am. I know I'm here just to let her show off. Even though I've switched back to my old face. After 3 extinction events. Tons of useless genes have been dropped. I've nearly reached perfection. That cool vibe is impossible to hide. A few guys look annoyed. And come over to make me drink. I don't refuse anyone. I've worked outside for years. Nothing surprises me. The local guys don't really mean any harm. But now, my body makes it hard to get drunk. After I down 3 or 4, no one else dares try. Dinner's done, we go to sing karaoke. In the private room, I sit on the couch playing on my phone. Just waiting for Su Qing to finish singing so I can take her home. But with a casual glance. A few guys nearby. They're watching a live stream of Bowsy Evolution. That's crazy. It really has endless possibilities. Feels like a supercomputer is evolving in real time. This player is so dumb. Even I could do better. Really hope for an open beta. No way that's happening. Some expert analyzed it. There won't be a wide release. The computing needs are just too much for a virtual world. Actually, the number of players isn't really a problem. Because this isn't a virtual world. It's the real world. No need for servers. Evolution. The only thing that matters is my own will. This game's too hardcore. Even with 100 players, they're all weak. Just a bunch of weird species. The pros should play instead. A student majoring in evolution nearby. Looks jealous. If it were me, I'd evolve a pro species. Let the real experts play. I'm a little shocked. Suddenly, it's clear to me. I know exactly what to do now. Came out with her today for a break. Totally worth it.